So, the first thing I would say is know the three parts of his curve. So you have the Keynes part, then when we're kind of curving up, you have the intermediate, and then when we're going straight up, you have the classical. So those are the three parts. The reason I'm telling you to know it is they could tell you you're in the Keynes part and aggregate demand shifts left. And you got to figure out, if you don't know where the Keynes part is, you'll be in trouble. He says prices are sticky. And because of the way he sets up the curve, if aggregate demand goes left, prices don't go down, they stay the same. So Keynes says government must intervene. Okay? And one of the ways is fiscal policy. All right? Which is either taxing or lowering taxes or spending less. Okay? And then just remember, anything to your right, he says if AD goes up after potential output, then you'll have inflation. Go.
What are the zones again?
Okay. You go Keynes, then the kind of curving up is intermediate, then the straight up is classical. Okay? That's just over. Boom. What's that? Okay. So the government has, in fiscal policy, it could do two things. Altogether, it could do two things. It could do monetary or fiscal. We're holding monetary off to next unit. So all we're focusing on is fiscal. Anything with fiscal policy is a change in aggregate demand. Okay? So you have the two types. You have discretionary fiscal policy. Those are things that take Congress to make a change in a law. So increasing or decreasing taxes, increasing or decreasing government spending. The problem with discretionary fiscal policy is it takes a long time. Okay? So no matter who becomes president, and they're going to have different interpretations of fiscal policy, it's going to take them a hard struggle to pass that through Congress, which will take them time. Okay? So then you also have your non-discretionary, which is the automatic stabilizers. Okay, so you have like welfare, you have unemployment insurance, you have a progressive tax rate. All of these are in already and don't have to be changed by law. So you have that all set up for you. So while Congress is spending time trying to pass laws, the non-discretionary is kicking in. Okay, so now we'll just go over expansionary. Okay, so anytime you're producing below potential output, you'd want expansionary fiscal policy. Okay, so you can either increase government spending or decrease taxes. Now, let me just warn you on one thing. Sometimes on the free response, they might tell you to do something. Like they might say, it's a recessionary gap, government then increases taxes. Show that on your graph. Now increasing taxes is the wrong thing to do, but you just do what they tell you on the free response. You know, if they tell you what to do. Sometimes they'll give you the free response and say, what should government do in a recessionary gap? Then you can just write increase government spending or decrease taxes. Okay? And then you have contractionary. That's any time you're producing greater than potential output and you have an inflationary gap. And it's the opposite. You decrease government spending or you increase taxes. Okay? And I would say there's definitely a couple of questions on this. It's always on the free response. The free response always starts out in either equilibrium or expansionary, contractionary, and asks you what type of fiscal policy you should use. Okay, then we've got the formulas for marginal propensity to save and consume. Okay, so the marginal propensity to save is change in savings over change in income. Now remember, marginal propensity to save plus marginal propensity to consume equals 1. For whatever reason, they love giving people the marginal propensity to consume and you figuring out the marginal propensity to save. Now, the marginal propensity to consume is the change in consumption over the change in income. Okay? It's the same formula, but there it's a change in consumption. So, consumers could do two things. They could either consume or they could save. So that's why it will always equal 1. Okay. So then you have the money multiplier. You could use either, whichever one. I tend to use 1 over MPS, but if you want to use or 1 over 1 minus MPC, which is the same thing, that is the money multiplier. Okay, in this one, it's 1 over 0.25. For people like me who are a little math challenged, if I'm moving this over 2, I got to put 2 zeros. Then I got 25 into 100, and that's 4. Okay? Now, I don't really remember, does the next slide come up? But just in case it doesn't, remember, the tax multiplier is 1 minus the spending. So here, it would be 1 minus 4, so it gives you minus 3. Okay? Now, you gotta be very careful when you read the multiple choice question. Are they asking you about taxes, or are they asking you about government spending? So you use the right multiplier. Okay? And then, whenever they give you those, here is the gap, or what to do. If you use the change in GDP equals multiplier times initial change in spending. If you use that formula and just plug in, so let's just say they want you to change GDP by 400 million. The multiplier is 4. We don't know how much the spending is, so that's X. So you get 4X equal 400 million. Okay, and X equals 100. So it just allows you, if you use that formula, to make sure you don't make mistakes. And I do understand that some students are just mathematically inclined. They could look at it right away and figure it out. But again, if you're like me, that formula is a good foundation. Okay, I'm not going to practice here. All right, here is the tax multiplier. I said it before, 1 minus the spending multiplier. Okay, so this graph isn't lined up very well, but they could give you an equilibrium here at 480 and ask you what you have to do to get to full potential, say 500. Okay, and they give you the MPC and they give you the graph. Well, you know the MPC, so that means MPS is point. So it's, again, you're going to get 4. They're asking you for 20 billion, so you get 4x equals 20 billion, x equals 5. Okay? This is just showing for the $5 billion government spending that you're getting a 20 billion change in the gap. Okay, and I just showed this going back the opposite way, contraction. Okay. Examples, I just want to make sure I cover everything. Okay, actually, we're good. We have everything. All right, the problems with fiscal policy is the lag in bureaucracy. Okay, the second problem is crowding out. So you have lag in bureaucracy and crowding out. That is the last thing, right? Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions on anything? Yes.
Government shift short run, like can they shift short run aggregate supply?
Government?
Yeah.
Not with fiscal policy, no. The only way short run aggregate supply goes right now, for what we've learned, is no government intervention when it gets back by itself. Okay? Any other questions? All right. Have a great day.
Shoot, not gonna be able to show up, but